Hey guys, welcome to this week's review of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Woo! So, this was a decent episode. I was into it, especially near the end. It got interesting. It did start off a bit slow, but it is how it is, right? Thank Jesus for Mary, right? Because I feel like if Mary wasn't part of this cast, I don't know how Salt Lake City would really survive. If I'm going to be honest with you, Mary really, really makes the show. She's absolutely crazy. She's absolutely nuts. And I love her for it. Like, even her tagline, don't come for me or I'll send Jesus after you. Like, what does that mean? So we have a scene with Mary, right? She's with her son. And she wants her son to join the army. Now, okay, I know that there are probably people out there that would like their children to join the army, but I just find it a little bit strange. It's not like going off to summer camp or going off to boot camp. Joining the army that's a big deal, right? And in my personal opinion, I feel like it should be someone's personal choice if they want to join the army, because that is a big sacrifice. And you're definitely, although on the surface I can definitely see maybe certain positive attributes, but still that's potentially a big risk and a big sacrifice. Like, what if your son is deployed in an area where it is very dangerous and he can potentially lose his life, right? And I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are parents out there that may feel like that, but I wouldn't want my child to sign up for something where they could potentially lose their life, right? Especially if they don't want to. If that's what they want, it may not be my ideal, but I would support them in that, because they're an adult, so it's up to them. But it seems like her son does not want to join the army, and I would hate for Mary to kind of push him to do something that he doesn't want to do. Like, that's just us. Joining the army it's a big decision, right? You're potentially putting your life at risk. So if that's not what you want to do, and even beyond putting your life at risk, it's very difficult. I'm assuming, right? And if your heart is not in the right place, I don't know how that's going to work out for him. That may even be traumatizing. So Mary, I was going to say I hope Mary's joking, but Mary's not joking. Mary is very blunt and matter of fact, so she says exactly what she means, right? Moving forward to, like, Mary kind of had this sort of not Mary, Meredith, right? She kind of had this fashion showing and she invited Mary. And Mary's crazy because she was talking to Meredith and Brooks, and she was literally like, okay, everybody be quiet now. I need to fart. I can only fart if there is silence. And she literally just farted in front of the cameras, mic'd everything with absolutely no shame. She's crazy. She's crazy, but I have to admire that, she's just willing to be herself, and, everybody farts. She's not ashamed about that. Like, I would be super embarrassed, right? Usually, like, people in that situation, they would try to cover it up, right? Or they would try to avoid it. But she's like, yo, I need to fart. I need to fart. I can only fart if everybody's quiet. So everybody shut up. I admire that, but then on the other hand, that's a little bit entitled if you think about it. You need everybody to stop what they're doing so you can fart. That's the definition of entitlement. That's like, okay, everybody stop breathing. I need to take a shit. Like, Mary's crazy, but whoever found her, they need a raise. They need a raise. They need a bonus. She's awesome and amazing. maybe for all the wrong reasons, but I'm definitely feeling her, right? But well, we could talk about Meredith now. Mary gave Meredith great advice, which is like, instead of kind of complaining about what Jen is doing, did you actually pick up the phone? Did you actually send her a text? Did you actually kind of speak face to face to let her know what she's doing and how that's not okay? Right? I love Mary's advice on that. And I definitely feel with Meredith, like, if she didn't have her beef with Jen, I'm not sure Meredith would get a second season. I'm not, because her sort of method of disengaging, which in the real world definitely I can relate to, a lot of people can relate to, it doesn't really work in reality television, because with reality television, it's all about confrontation, right? So it's not it's not that interesting for the audience if you're not willing to have that conversation with somebody. So ultimately, I am glad that she showed up to the ice fishing thing that Jen put together, right? Low key, I feel like the producers made her like, yo, you need to go to this thing. You need to go to this thing. Mary, of course, doesn't want to go. Mary's crazy yet again. You're like, I don't really care for fishing, and I don't want to be on a lake. That's just not my thing. I ain't gonna go. Right? Where other ladies in other franchises, they're not missing a scene. They are not missing the scene. They don't care if it's jumping out of a plane. They don't care if it's jumping off of a cliff. They don't care if it's making out with snakes or whatever, with pigeons. They will be there for the scene. So I don't know. I just low key kind of admire that Mary's like, yo, if I don't want to film the scene, if I don't like the excursion, I don't want to go. And Mary can get away with that, right? I feel like a Meredith couldn't really pull that crap, right? Elisa Barlow couldn't really get away with that. But Mary, she can get away with that because the producers know, like, the producers know Mary's value, right? Mary doesn't need to do much to make a scene, so it is what it is with that. Before we go with Meredith and Jen, I want to talk about the new girl, Jenny, I believe is her name, and her husband pressuring her into having another child when they already have three children. Like, that's that's a lot of children. Three is a good number, right? It's not like you just have one. You have three. So you have a good number of children. And the first or the second episode, when she spoke about her husband wanting more children, I was like, well, she doesn't want children. But fine, I can understand why he wants more, and I can understand why that would be a conflict between each other, right? But this episode, when Jenny kind of goes into further detail as to why she doesn't want children, and she spoke on how she had nine miscarriages. Nine? Like, oh my gosh, right? I can, listen, before I even heard that, I could understand her saying, listen, I had three children, that's enough. I don't want any more. Like I said, three children is enough, right? She didn't say less, right? She didn't have to say anything after that. If she doesn't want any more children, she doesn't want any more children. But when she said she had nine miscarriages, it just further solidified her stance on not wanting children. Like, I can't even imagine how heartbreaking that must have been for her. And then to go through that 9 times, that must have been devastating and really difficult to manage. And she spoke on these nine miscarriage. She didn't tell us how far along she was. Even if she was like a month, 2 months, right? That would still be devastating. But can you imagine if she was even further along? She was 4 months, 6 months, 5 months. I don't want to even say past then, and she miscarried, how not only emotionally difficult that may have been for her, but physically, spiritually, on all levels. That's a lot, right? And even her doctor was like, listen, it's pretty dangerous for you for whatever reason. It's not a good idea for you to have more children, right? That's putting your future child, potential child, in danger, because you, like she said, I don't even know if the child would be healthy, right? If I were to get pregnant, and I'm not sure I would survive. So it's just, like I said, even if she just said she didn't want children, she has every right, more children, she has every right to be like, she's done because she's carrying the child. But then, given all the complications she has had, the fact that her husband can so callously keep pressuring her to have more children, that it's like, that's just completely selfish, because he's too busy thinking about his personal ideal, right? Of his fantasy of this ideal family of having a bunch of children. He's so focused on that he's not even taking into consideration his wife and her health, her physical health, her emotional health, her spiritual health. And to me, I mean, on the surface, I was like, okay, they're a sweet, cute family, and I don't want to judge them for a 2.5 second clip. I hope that this is fake. I really do. I hope that they're kind of just making this the storyline so they have something to talk about. And he doesn't genuinely feel this way, because I hate to say it, it just comes off as he doesn't value his wife. He doesn't value Jenny, right? He puts this fantasy family over his wife and the three amazing children that they already have. Like, why can't you just be a grateful and appreciative of what you have? That's amazing what you have. But you're willing to risk all that just to fulfill this fantasy. Like, what if she was to get pregnant again, and God forbid there was complications and she lost her life? Then it would just be you and your three children, and they would be without a mother, just because you selfishly want more children. For what? Like, respect that. Respect how she, like, that's just crazy to me. That's just, I don't know how I would feel. I don't know how I would feel if my partner, after knowing that I had 9 miscarriages, for them to still be pressuring me to have more children, especially when we have 3 children already. Like, that would just, I would feel like she said, I would feel like my partner doesn't really love me or care about me. I really, like, oh my gosh, that's just, I'm sorry, I had to sit with that for a little bit. I'm still sitting with that. It's so sad. It really is. Like, he doesn't value what she has already gave him. The stress, the danger that she has put her body through. She has already risked her life. How many times for him already? And instead of being like, that's enough, sweetie, thank you, it's a miracle, I love you, I love my children, I'm so grateful, I'm so happy, it's still not enough. I don't like that at all. Next, I really don't like that. I'm not feeling him at all. Not at all. Moving on. So let's fast forward. I know Heather had her thing with her daughters, but I feel like with Heather, it's the same old, like, I used to be a Mormon. Now I'm not a Mormon. And I want my daughters to run wild and do whatever. And it's like, listen, your daughters are going to have their own lives and they're going to make their own decisions. Your daughters are not there to live out yet again, some fantasy that you didn't get to live out when you were young. So I hope she's not projecting too much onto her daughters, right? Her wasted youth. I hope she's not doing that. But from the clips I've seen, Heather does seem to have a good relationship with her daughters and they're really close. So it is nice to see. It is, but I mean, we got this last season. Let's be real, we got it last season. And I don't mind seeing it again because I feel like, okay, we have enough things going on that I will tolerate it for a little bit more. I would like to see Heather go on some dates. I mean, again, not that awkward double date that she did with Jen, but whatever. Moving on, moving on. Let's go to Jen and Meredith and this whole thing. Now, I spoke on last week that I don't know, I have this double mind on this situation. I don't know exactly how to feel. On one end with Brooks, I do feel like you you're an adult, right? And you kind of did speak negatively on Jen, right? You said you can see her for JJ. And when they were showing the clip, the flashback, right? It's not like Jen was wearing a mini skirt. She was wearing like a midi skirt or a midi dress, right? It seemed like the dress fell kind of around her knee, maybe slightly above, or maybe it was a bit longer. But of course, when she was kicking up her legs, yeah, the dress was a bit hiked up, but I don't think it was hiked up to the point where you saw her vagina. I just feel like you were doing a bit much. However, when she was kicking up her leg, she was saying grinder, 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 right? So I feel like I don't really remember the context of that scene, but her saying grinder, 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 I can put two and two together and kind of figured that the reason why she's saying grinder is because she was referring to Brooks, right? Because maybe she assumed that Brooks was gay. I don't think she was trying to insult Brooks, right? I don't think she was trying to put him down. She was just trying to relate to him. Maybe she thought that he was openly or obviously gay, so he wouldn't be offended by this. But clearly, because he hasn't spoken openly with his sexuality, with his family. I don't think he's quite there yet wherever he is. Not that he owes us, the audience, an explanation, but I do think he was triggered and felt uncomfortable with Jen mentioning Grinder and kind of alluding to the possibility that he could be gay. And that was the real reason why he sort of stormed out of the scene, right? Because at the time, I did find it kind of weird for him to be so offended by Jen and thought that Jen was acting so crazy. Because I remember watching it last season and I'd be like, we all know Jen can be a bit much. But in that scene, I feel like Jen was just trying to have fun, right? Because it was a sleepover, they were drinking. I don't think she was really doing that much. So for Brooks and his sister to kind of storm out, I was taken aback. But now that I get the full context of Brooks not coming out as gay, I can totally understand why he felt super uncomfortable with Jen bringing up Grinder. And I think because he was triggered and because he was upset, he brought up seeing her vagina, even though I doubt he did. Like, from what she was wearing, even when she was kicking up her legs, she was holding the dress together, right? Now, there could be a scene that they didn't show, they cut, they edited things out. Like, I don't know what happened in its entirety, only the people in that room did. But from what I saw as the audience, I don't really think she was flashing anything. But I think, like I said, he said that in retaliation to her because she made him feel uncomfortable. And like I said again, I don't think she was trying to be offensive to him by saying grinder, even though I do think it is kind of inappropriate. I know that Brooks is an adult, but he is what, 19, 20, and he's your friend's son, and you don't really know him like that. So it's probably, maybe don't bring up those things. If you don't have that bond, you don't have that relationship, you shouldn't assume things, right? Jen was wrong on that end, but I, and I feel like Meredith kind of was trying to explain that, but Meredith really didn't explain that too clearly to Jen. Not that I think Jen would understand that anyways, because Jen doesn't want to look like the bad guy, right? And Jen really got it last season, especially with the reunion, right? And with the fans and the audience. So now she was hypersensitive before. Now she's super, super hypersensitive. So she doesn't want to hear it. Her liking tweets. Now, this is, I'm confused, right? Because Meredith will say, you did this, you did this, you did that. But then Jen will turn around and be like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And I'm not on Twitter like that. I'm not following these things. So I'm kind of like, who do I believe? But to be fair, I mean, Jen has lied a lot in the past, right? Jen has lied. Heather has accused her of doing similar things on Twitter and on social media. And then Jen will turn around and be like, no, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? I didn't do any of that. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to believe Jen at this point. I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt based on her past behaviors. So I'm pretty sure she liked certain things, right? To sort of validate her position, where it's like, I didn't do anything wrong. Everybody, everybody in the audience feels the same way. So why are you mad at me for it? Kind of thing. Here's proof, here's proof. I think she did like tweets. Is she wrong for that? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess she is wrong for that. But on the other hand, I am gonna have to say that I feel like she is liking tweets, but she didn't write these tweets herself. Do you know what I mean? It sounds terrible, but she didn't write these tweets. She's only liking them. I think if you put yourself on a public platform like this, you have to sort of anticipate that there is going to be criticism, right? And people can really be harsh and judgmental. I'll give them a bit of grace because it is their first season, so they probably didn't anticipate that there would be this much of a backlash, but people are going to have their opinions, right? And I don't really think that's Jen's fault. I think that's putting yourself on camera. Like that's where the blame lies. That's not really on Jen, right? So I'm not going to tell Meredith how to feel, right? Because I definitely feel like Jen has done wrong, but I feel like a large part of the anger that Meredith has nothing really to do with Jen, but more so that her son is kind of, I don't want to say he's struggling with something or he's dealing with something. Like he doesn't need to really announce his sexuality or whatever. It's none of our business. But he is dealing with that. I understand that people are definitely judgmental and they're going to want to put you in the box. They're going to want to try to figure you out before you even figure yourself out, right? But I don't really think that's on Jen. I think that's just more so being on television. And if Brooks is not really at that place, then I don't really think he should appear on the show. I don't think it's really healthy for them. I don't think it's healthy. To be honest, I don't think reality television is healthy for a lot of people. But I especially don't think it's healthy for a 19-year-old, right? And if he wants to appear, he should appear like within a limited capacity. But like I said, last season, he was more on the show. He was more of a housewife than Meredith was. Let's be real. He appeared in more scenes than Meredith did, right? So, just like people are going to have their opinions on Jen, Whitney, Heather, and everything, if you and Mary, if you put yourself in that position, then it's kind of like, I mean, I'm sorry, but so it's like I said, I'm double-minded on this. um as I said before, Meredith, I don't think she would have made another season if she didn't have her beef with Jen, because she just, I get the frustration. I really do. I wish Jen would just admit what she did so that they can move forward at this point. Like, everybody just needs to own what they did. Maybe Brooks can even give Jen an apology. Like I said, I feel like he was triggered by her saying grinder, right? If he just kind of spoke to her and they had an adult to adult conversation, then I think they can move forward. The problem with that is I think Jen is definitely emotionally unstable, and she's not capable of being that bigger person. She's not capable of seeing the role that she plays in situations and how she makes things worse. So I just feel like on the other end, there's really no point even talking to Jen, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, because she's just going to blow up at you and make it worse. So I get Meredith's frustration, and I really do. I do. But I don't know. Um, we'll see how that plays out, right? And kudos to Jenny for kind of being like, listen, do you want to be her friend? Do you guys want to move forward? Just listen to each other. Stop kind of freaking out so you guys can move past this. Because, like I said, I don't really think this is that. I think they can move past that. I think Jen is a terrible person. I don't like her. Period. I don't. So, I mean, but for the sake of filming, right? Like, you gotta move on. Don't let somebody else ruin your opportunity, right? Just over some petty beef. It's not really worth it. Speaking of petty beef, Heather and Whitney and Lisa, I just want to make a quick commentary on that. I don't know. I just don't like Heather that much. I don't know. Like, Heather was definitely the fan favorite, and I did feel like that until the reunion. And then I saw a different side of Heather. And Heather is low key a mean girl. So is Whitney. I feel like they're low key mean girls, but they want to make, like, they want to kind of present themselves as the underdog. But in an odd way, I feel like Lisa Barlow is the underdog in the situation, and she's kind of being bullied by them, right? Now, could Lisa be a little bit aloof and kind of have airs about her? Sure, she does. But particularly Whitney, I don't really think Lisa has really done anything to Whitney like that. But when Whitney wants to present it as if Lisa is obsessed with her, right? Yeah, Lisa has made commentary maybe here and there about Whitney, but Whitney has made several comments about Lisa as well. So you guys are pretty much on even playing ground. So for one or the other to kind of pretend that they're a victim, especially when it comes to Whitney and Heather, is a little bit ridiculous. For me, I think Whitney was definitely projecting with the whole, I think Lisa's obsessed with me. I think Lisa is attracted to me. Honestly, I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like definitely maybe Whitney has something for Lisa. And I definitely think Whitney is a little bit obsessed with Lisa. I can understand Heather maybe having a beef because of the commentary that Lisa made about how she was in college. But for Whitney, I don't really understand why Whitney's so mad at Lisa. I really don't. So I don't know. We're gonna see how everything plays out. Anyways, that's everything, guys. See ya.